Chamber by Councilor Hurst and Councilor Edwards, and we are joined remotely at this time by Ward 8 City Councilor Zeta Govan. I want to start by welcoming everybody to the chamber this evening, and I want to say this is our first in-person proclamation ceremony that we have actually had a chance to hold here in the Springfield City Council chamber since the pandemic and since our return to in-person meetings, and we could not have three more worthy proclamations that will be presented this evening. And so we're going to begin with our first proclamation, which will be presented to the family of Captain Dan Walsh by our colleague, Councilor Justin Hurst.
Thank you, Mr. President. I apologize for my tardiness. Normally our hearings meetings start at 6:30, so I certainly want to apologize, but I'll start off by reading the proclamation, and then I'll say a few words and open it up to my colleagues. Whereas the city of Springfield is always saddened to lose a distinguished citizen, and whereas Captain Daniel M. Walsh III passed away on October 22nd, 2022, and whereas Dan was born and raised in Springfield, Mass., and was a true supporter of the city he loved and represented for over 80 years. And whereas Dan attended Holy Name Grammar School, Cathedral High School, and graduated from St. John's Prep in Danvers, Mass., where he was a decorated track and field athlete and was inducted into the St. John's Hall of Fame in 2010. And whereas Dan graduated from Providence College in 1964 and was commissioned a second lieutenant in the United States Marine Corps. Then, in August of that year, he reported to the Basic School Class 265. And whereas upon graduation from Officers Candidate School, he was stationed at Camp Pendleton, California, and Camp Schwab, Okinawa, before deployment to Vietnam. And whereas in March 1966, he participated in Operation Utah and was wounded in action, receiving a Purple Heart Medal for his actions that day. And in 1998, he was awarded the Bronze Star with a V upon returning to the United States. He served as guard officer at Marine Barracks, U.S. Naval Base, Boston, Mass., and later commanding officer at HQ Co. HNSBN MCB, Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. And in August of 1967, Dan received an honorable discharge as a captain. And whereas Dan was recognized as the Veteran of the Year by the Springfield Veterans Committee, and whereas Dan's personal decorations include many, just to name a few: National Defense Medal, Presidential Unit Citation Ribbon, Marine Corps Expert Rifle Badge, and whereas in civilian life, Captain Walsh has held several political positions, including president of the Springfield City Council, chair of the Park Department, was founder of the Basketball Hall of Fame Tip-Off Classic, and was the director of Veteran Services Department from 1996 through 2011. And whereas in 1967, Dan married the love of his life, our colleague, the former Catering Bennett, and together they raised 7 children and enjoyed 11 grandchildren. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Springfield City Council hereby posthumously recognizes, honors, and commends Captain Daniel M. Walsh III, USMC, for his many contributions to so many people and causes over his vast life, and sends their sincere sympathy to his family, as he will be sorely missed. Sponsored by myself and all of our colleagues on the council. Captain Walsh, for those of you who didn't get an opportunity to meet him, was an amazing man. Someone who served his country, someone who served the residents of this Commonwealth, and someone who served the residents of this great city. Councilor Walsh, or Captain Walsh, and I got the opportunity of meeting on a number of occasions. One, which I will never forget, It was 5 o'clock in the morning, and I had enlisted Councilor Walsh to do a weed trip. But we were going to be investigating what Colorado was doing as it related to recreational marijuana here in the city of Springfield. I asked Councilor Walsh if she would join myself and Senator Gomez, former counselor, as well as Representative Ramos, also a former counselor, on a trip to Colorado. When I went to go and pick Catering up that morning, Captain Walsh was there to greet me. And it was almost as if I was taking Councilor Walsh on a first date. And although he didn't say much to me, what you could tell by his facial reactions was that he expected that I keep his wife safe and return her just as I had picked her up. And that I did, and our relationship flourished from that point forward. But that really is indicative of the love that Captain Walsh had for his family and that Captain Walsh had for just about every person that he encountered. So on behalf of my colleagues on the chamber, we appreciate everything that Captain Walsh has done for this city and everything that he's done to touch the residents of Springfield and the impact that he's had on all of us. Thank you, and this is for the Walsh family in his honor.
Why don't you grab it, Bennett? Thank you, Justin. Nice. Thank you.
Thanks for bringing it back.
We're also joined in the chamber now by Councilor Allen and Councilor Fenton. And before we hear remarks from the Walsh family and take a photo, we'd like to invite any other councilors who would like to share. We'll start with Vice President Edwards and then Councilor Fenton.
First of all, I'd like to thank you, the family, for all the years of service, not only to your country, but to the city of Springfield. I want to thank you for all the times that you had to share your husband, your father, your grandfather, your family member with us. We appreciated his service. We appreciate your family service to the city of Springfield. And my condolences in this today being a moment of recognition, but I know that it is tempered with sadness because he's not here to receive it himself. So I'll just simply say thank you.
Thank you, Melvin.
Thank you, Councilor Edwards. Before we hear from Councilor Fenton, I'll just remind colleagues that if you do not speak directly into the microphone, the broadcast at home and our colleagues that are participating remotely will not be able to hear you. Councilor Fenton, followed by Councilor Govan remotely.
Catering and the entire Walsh and Bennett family, I think Councilor Edwards said it right. We want to thank you for sharing Danny with us in the city of Springfield for so many years. In Councilor Hurst and in Councilor Edwards' remarks, I think the theme that rang true to me throughout was that Danny was a man of service. He was a man of service first and foremost to his family, but also to his city, to his country, to his alma maters, and to every cause that he really believed in. He gave so much of himself and his time to the people and the community that supported him along the way. And we thank you from the bottom of our heart for your family's contributions to this city and for allowing Danny to play such a pivotal role in its future. I was proud and lucky to have known him and to call him a friend. Danny, if not being solely responsible, is primarily responsible for me being elected city council president for the first time. Sat me down with Henry Twiggs one day and said, "That's what you're doing?" I said, "Oh, okay, well, let's do it." And then that's what I did. And the impact that he had on the lives of so many cannot be overstated at this moment. So thank you from the bottom of my heart and on behalf of the city and all of the causes that Danny advocated for over the years. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Fenton. I'll let folks know that we're also joined now remotely by Councilor Victor Davila, and we'll go now to Councilor Govan.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I think I want to express the same sentiments as the other councilors, and that is to thank you, Councilor Walsh and the Walsh and Bennett family for sharing Captain Walsh with us. I remember meeting him out in the orchard when he came out with Councilor Walsh. I believe it was for the first, I think, Bloom's campaign. And then after that, he would come out with Catering and just was the kindest. I remember him being very kind. And when I spoke to him, his service was evident in the way he spoke and what he shared with me. So I want to thank you, Catering, and thank you for the card that I received today. I was a little emotional when I got it, and I really appreciate, like I said, the entire family sharing him with us. So thank you, and I'm really sorry for your loss.
Thank you, Councilor Govan. Also a shout out to Onyx, making an appearance on the screen. And we'll go now to Councilor Victor Davila.
Thank you, Mr. President. Catering, I am honored to have met Danny. Danny is truly a great man. One of the things that really struck me the most about him was his humility. When he spoke either from his service in Vietnam or his time as a city councilor and a council president, his humility always struck me. The Walsh family is truly an iconic family here in the city of Springfield. You guys have given so much, and I thank you. I thank you for the gift of Danny. I thank you for your wisdom, and I will always remember Danny. He always used to tell me, Victor, my respect to the Walsh family, and God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Davila. Councilor Allen.
Thanks everybody for coming and honoring Danny as a great guy. My story with Danny, and I reiterate what Justin and Melvin and Mike and Zeta said, as well as Victor. I want to repeat everything, but a couple unique things. I'm a huge basketball fan, and Danny was part of the crew that started the Tip-Off Classic, which unfortunately has moved to Mohegan Sun, or it's kind of a whole melange of things at this point. But it kind of put Springfield on the map as the home of basketball, and has really taken a key role nationally in starting the college basketball season. And it was an honor just to get to know him from that standpoint, because I'm always, thinking of people who, ways we can take what we have here naturally that are just things we have here and kind of take for granted, and elevating them to, particularly in something like that where it was elevated to become a national weekend of the opening of the college basketball season. Of course, I did want to make a note to Councilor Govan. She is a social worker, and she shows incredible patience with that cat. So if anybody's looking for a social worker, I think that was an ad for
Well, I have no choice.
But anyway, the service, you think of Danny Walsh, you think of the service and honor. It's another word that really strikes me. And the whole Walsh family has carried that forward. My father served in World War II, and my uncles, and there was a lot of military history in my family. But I'm not sure I ever gave it as much credit or as much thinking about it as when you get to the city council. Holy cow, if you've never thought about this stuff deeply before, you do now. I mean, you just go to every military thing and start, it just becomes part of your being, that the honor and the sacrifice that people have made. Well, I've been going along, I did not serve in that capacity, and to come to know a family that has had so much of that, led by Danny, was terrific. And the other thing that strikes me with Danny was there was a time on the city council where I was known for talking a little bit too much. And I'm not sure I ever totally agreed with it, but my defense would be my defense would be frequently but not long. And Danny just set me straight on that. He's like, no, you just talk too much. Cut it back. Yes, sir. I knew when to salute on that one. So thanks to Danny for all these different things,
I remember when
including
he did that.
including his mentoring of me. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Allen, and I'll share briefly that it was Councilor Allen who had that talk with me. So the wisdom carried on, and I'll say finally on behalf of the City Council to the Walsh family before we hear remarks from the Walsh family. You know, I got to know Captain Walsh as a neighbor just before I got to know him as a counselor. And the truth is that you would not and will never find a more authentic or a more outspoken individual in the city of Springfield. And I want to put those two things together. He was authentically outspoken. He told you exactly what you needed to hear when you needed to hear it. He gave you the encouragement when you needed it, and he gave you the kick when you needed it too. And I valued that so much about the times that I had a chance to share a conversation with Captain Walsh. And I'll say the other thing that I know he valued so greatly, as you've heard from so many of our colleagues, is his family. And one of the things that he was very proud of is the fact that between himself and our colleague, Councilor Walsh, they are the only two husband and wife who stood where I stand today as president of the City Council. And I think that that is a testament to their dedication to the city of Springfield. And so with that, we'll now recognize our colleague, Councilor Walsh, and her family.
Well, thank you very much, and I want to thank all my colleagues, and I do remember a lot of the advice that Danny has given people over the years. As a matter of fact, if you speak to Buddy Williams, he will tell you that Danny was a straight shooter, and you didn't always like his advice, but he gave it to you anyhow. And we are honored that he's being honored here in this chamber because he served in this chamber as council president. He served in this building as the Director of Veterans Affairs, and he encouraged many people to join the United States Marine Corps. He also went to Providence College, which is Mike's alma mater, and Bennett and Mary Lee's. Go Friars, and he is equally dedicated to Providence College. And his ceremony, when he was awarded the Bronze Star by then Captain Walsh, now Lieutenant Colonel Walsh, was right behind us in the school committee room. He was dedicated to the city of Springfield. He loved the city of Springfield. He brought basketball to the city of Springfield. And he never did it for himself. He did it because he loved Springfield. And even though he worked on the Veterans Cemetery, he did not want to be buried anywhere but Springfield. So that is where he is. So I am going to ask my son Bennett and my son Chris if they would like to say a few words on behalf of the family. And this is an honor. And as you can imagine, it is a tremendous loss, not only to me, but to the city, because he did so much for so many people. Bennett.
Good job, Mom. Just want to thank the city. This is very kind, honor, and congrats to the other nominees, going later. A neat story about my dad, there's many. But I just chuckle at him telling someone you're talking too much. You know, my dad loved to spin a yarn. So for if we told him that, it would be an interesting one-way conversation back toward you, which I think I said that once, and that was the one and only time I said that to him. But a neat story with this, trying to frame it all in the city of Springfield. So I was at Union Station the other day. My daughter Siobhan was going to New York City, and Union Station, as you all know, looks so good. I mean, it's unbelievable. They've got the authentic clock. I mean, but it reminded me of a story my dad told me. My grandfather, Daniel M. Walsh Jr., who served as well in politics and such. My dad's first memory of my grandfather was he served in World War II, and it was coming back to Union Station, in his full dress whites that the Navy has, which is an impressive uniform. And my dad's first memory of his father, because he went away when my dad was 1 year old, was his dad in Union Station. And I thought that yesterday, and how much this means to the city, how much this means to my dad, because my dad loved many things. He loved his family, he loved his state, he loved our Marine Corps, province, he loved so much, but he loved Springfield. He loved Springfield so much, from Forest Park to the Veterans Center, everything about Springfield, he really loved it, and it's such an honor. I really wish he could be here. I'm glad my mom mentioned that ceremony with when he received the Bronze Star, and he received that because a friend of his from Springfield, Dan Kelly, ran into his company commander in Boston and said, "Did you know about how heroic your friend Dan was?" And Dan Kelly's like, "No, I didn't hear that story." And I think, as fate would have it, my dad got to get the bronze. My dad was awarded the Bronze Star here in Springfield. I think that meant more to him, that it was in the city that he loved so much, surrounded by friends and family from all over the country. It was really a wonderful thing, and to have this here, we really thank you. And a shout out to the city. I'm giving a shout out, thumbs up on the screen, because through the magic of YouTube and such, my brother Danny's watching from Chicago, my brother Michael from Nebraska. So we really appreciate that the city could do this and allow it to be broadcast. And to stand here with my mom, my brother Chris, my sister Marilee and Laura, and represent them, as well as my sister Kateri, it's really an honor. And I just thank everyone for their kind words. My mom's BFF right there, Justin Hurst. I gotta give a shout out. Thanks for sponsoring that. It's a great story. I hadn't heard that one. And also my dad's best man is here. My Uncle Phil and his wonderful wife, Mary. So we want to thank them for being out here as well. But again, a shout out to the city of Springfield, to the 413. It means a lot to the Walsh family for you to do this for my dad. And just God bless you all, and everyone have a great night.
Hello? I really didn't want to say anything, but my mom said, go say something, so I'll say something. My Aunt Mary, I think 72 years ago today, she came from Ireland on a boat, the USS America. My dad's grandfather was born on a boat, leaving Ireland, coming to America. He was the youngest of 17 children. And since they came to America, from my grandfather, Walsh, who was a county commissioner for 30 years here, he was on a Navy ship that was 400 casualties from the kamikazes in Japan. And then Dad served in the Marine Corps, and so did Bennett. One thing I can say about my father, when he got back from Vietnam, there was a lot of people that had a lot of hard times coming back from Vietnam. And from what I heard as a kid and whatnot, and I said, Dad, what about you? What did you do? Why did you make it the way you are? He said, Chris, when I came back from Vietnam, I wanted to be home in Springfield, and I wanted to put my time and my effort into this city. This is where I wanted to be. And he told me he was a member of over like 35 board of directors in the city. Not that he was the board of directors, but he was a part of these. And that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to be a part of this city, and he was. And Tim, thanks for acknowledging what he did for the Peach Basket. That was a great part of our lives and for many people in this city. And Shaquille O'Neal had his first game there. Michael Jordan played there. But I hear it from Jesse and from so many people. My dad, he may never have. I never wanted to hear what he had to tell me, but he certainly told me, and that was it. And maybe a little forcefully than you guys, but all I want to say is to everyone here, and Victor, who helped my father in a very difficult situation, which we appreciate. All your comments, just wonderful, beautiful, and you guys are now carrying on what he was a part of, that Mom's a part of. So God bless you, and thank you for your service, and God bless our city, Springfield.
Well, I'm going to get the last word, and Bennett did introduce Mary Lee, Laura, Phil, and Mary Hallahan, Danny's cousin. But believe it or not, the obituary And the proclamation did not contain everything that Danny did. There was just too much stuff. We couldn't put it all in. But I want to leave you with this, with some of the other things that he did. You know, Danny was the chair of the Bicentennial Committee. And as chairman of that committee, he directed funds to Echoes when they needed it, when they were desperate for funds. And it kickstarted Echoes. What a legacy. He left money for Camp Star Angelina Trail. But one of the things he was the proudest of was he is responsible for the flagpole on State Street. I'm sure you've all seen the flagpole at the beginning of State Street, and he had many arguments back and forth with Pat Sullivan about how high it should be, because he wanted it to be the highest flag in the entire city. So when you go by that flag, please remember Danny, his service to the city and the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Walsh, and to the Walsh family, we would invite you behind the bar to take a photo with the City Council if you would like. Be good. Be good. Merry Christmas. Thank you, catering. All right. For folks that are here for our hearings meeting, the hearings meeting will begin momentarily, but we do have 2 additional proclamations that we will be presenting this evening. So we appreciate your patience. Our next proclamation is in honor of the 40th ministerial anniversary of the Archbishop Timothy Paul, and will be presented by the Vice President of the City Council, Councilor Edwards.
Oh, God, do I have to talk about his church? Oh, Jesus. Oh, shit.
This is a particular honor and privilege for me, because this gentleman, this man of God, is my family. I was born to Reverend Lily Mae Barber, born into the Church of the Living God at 22 King Street in 1959. And in the years, that founding pastor was Bishop Marshall. Yeah. And when Bishop Marshall passed, my mother became the pastor of the Church of the Living God. And many, many years ago, as a young minister in the city of Springfield, this gentleman at the podium and my mother struck up a relationship. And she grew to love him like her child. He is my family because he is my brother. We have shared the same mother. So as I read these words, they have particular meaning based in pride, my being proud of his accomplishments, but he being my family, not just my friend. Whereas Archbishop Timothy Paul is a native of Springfield, Massachusetts, having attended Springfield Public Schools, including DeBerry Elementary School, Washington Street School, and Putnam High School. And whereas having gone on to attend Springfield Technical Community College and Wheaton College, Archbishop Paul received his pastoral calling at an early age, attending Sanctus Theological Seminary, and whereas Archbishop Paul pastored at the Faith and Hope Church in Providence, Rhode Island, before returning home to Springfield, where he now serves as the senior pastor of the Christian Cathedral. And whereas Archbishop Paul is the patriarch of the International Communion of the Holy Christian Orthodox Church, president of the Council of Churches of Greater Springfield, president of the New England Partners in Faith, president of the World Bishops' Council, and president of the Springfield Christian College and Theological Seminary. And whereas Archbishop Paul is deeply rooted in the Springfield community, including serving as the fire chaplain for the Springfield Fire Department, chairman of the Board of Families Against Violence, and chairman of the Board of Directors of the Hope Community Development Corporation. And whereas in 2022, Archbishop Paul celebrated 40 years of ministry. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the City of Springfield, City Council of Springfield, Massachusetts, hereby recognizes Archbishop Timothy Paul on the occasion of his 40th year of ministry, thanks him for his service and dedication to the people of the City of Springfield, wishes him all the best in his continued efforts. A proclamation sponsored on December 12, 2022, in honor of Archbishop Timothy Paul, as attested by Gladys Oyola Lopez, City Councilor, and City Councilor President Jesse Letterman, and all councilors. I just want to say thank you for your service once again. Thank you for your friendship. Thank you for the opportunity to serve with you. We've heard just a few minutes ago about a gentleman who is recognized for his many years of service. Well, I was born to a minister, to a preacher. I am a preacher's child, and we are a special breed. But when God calls us, we have to answer. I was told by my wife many years ago that God doesn't have to yell, that sometimes he whispers, but we have to be silent enough to hear him. So I thank you, Tim, Missy, for listening to God when he whispered to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Edwards. Before we hear from Archbishop Paul, I will take remarks from any other councilors who would wish to give them, starting with Councilor Hurst.
Thank you, Mr. President, Archbishop. Congratulations on your 40 years. You've known the family for a long time. And when you mentioned the other day of your foray into politics with my father, I went home directly after Bishop Naylor's 75th birthday party and had a conversation with my father. I won't say too many of the details, but it was clear to me that that you weren't afraid to get dirty. Oftentimes, in politics, it's about the service to the people, and you were willing to do whatever it is that you had to do to ensure that folks were advocating on behalf of the residents of Springfield the right way. So I appreciate your $1 million smile. On top of that, before you leave the mic, what I didn't know that I recently found out was that you're a heck of a singer. And so you have to hit a note before you leave today.
Thank you, Councilor Hurst. We'll go to Councilor Govan, followed by Councilor Davila.
Thank you so much, Mr. President, and congratulations, Archbishop Timothy Paul. Bishop, at that time, I believe it was Pastor Bayman, where I went to the first church that I ever went to, and that's where I got saved at, and actually met my husband there. So I just want to congratulate you on this great occasion. 40 years seems like a very long time. And it doesn't seem like that long ago. But I have been married over 20 years, so I guess it has been that long. And I just watched your accomplishments over the years, and I've seen you grow. And I think that I agree with Counselor Edwards that God really does has his hands on you. And I just want you to continue doing the great work that you're doing. And congratulations again. Much love. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Gavon. Councilor Davila.
Thank you, Mr. President. If you allow me, I want to face the good bishop here. Everybody hear me okay? Oh, yeah. Excellent. So, first of all, congratulations, Bishop. Thank you. Congratulations on 40 years of one incredible gift of the Lord. Be a fisherman. Be a fisherman of men. To be a fisherman for him, for with all things are possible. So congratulations to you on that, sir. And I was to tell you, Bishop, that Councilor Edwards was reading the proclamation. I looked at you, and I remember something you said that to me when I first got elected to the city council. He looked at me straight in the eyes, and he said, "Be the light and the salt of the world." And I still remember those words. God knows that I was trying my best. May fall from time to time.
Me too.
But I remember those words. And also, as a side note, I leave Proclamation to you that the church you have now, that's the church that I came out. With my wife Sonia, and I'm happy to report that we're going to 20 years of happy marriage. And so, congratulations to you, sir.
Thank you.
You're definitely a staple in the community, and you're doing good work. I mean, the Lord allows us to live for years. Congratulations to you.
Thank you, Victor. Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you, Councilor Davila. We'll go to Councilor Brown, followed by Councilor Fenton.
Thank you, Mr. President. I definitely want to thank my brother in Christ and colleague in Christ. He is well deserved in it. We speak a lot and reflect a lot on the scriptures. A lot of people, they truly don't understand why we're here and why we exist. So me and the bishop, we are both theologists when it comes to the scriptures, and it's always been a pleasure to reflect on the scriptures. He's definitely a man of God, and his voice is like an angel. So if anyone has not heard this man sing, oh my goodness, go to his church. His church is in my district, and he's definitely probably one of the greatest singers to ever be graced on this earth. Bishop, it's more than well deserved. A lot of times, just like Christ really isn't appreciated where you come from. We understand what that means. I'm glad that you can at least be seen from a lot of the fruits that you have exhibited. Thank you for your service. God bless, and continue to do your work. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Brown. Councilor Fenton.
Thank you, Mr. President. I got to hear this singing voice, Archbishop. 40 years of service and commitment to the parishioners that he serves in the city of Springfield. Archbishop, you've been a confidant and a friend to myself and so many others. Thank you and congratulations on 40 years.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Fenton. Councilor Allen.
Thanks, Mr. President. And thank you, Bishop Timothy Paul. You know, one of the cool things about being on the city council is you are automatically meeting people from different walks of life. It's just people you would not meet if you stayed in your own lane the whole time. And we all got out of our lanes. By being here, we're all out of our lanes. And Bishop Timothy Paul is someone that I've really enjoyed getting to know. And because every time you see him at an event or something, there's a good spirit about him and a good positive spirit. I've always gotten positive vibe from him. And we all need that. And I appreciate that you give that to me, and I'm sure you give it to many others as you're here. And I didn't know about the singing voice, so we're going to try that out at some point. But I do want to say that I have the distinct pleasure of sitting next to Counselor Edwards. I didn't know you guys were connected, but he's picking up a little of that preacher thing,
Yeah, he is.
Like, did you hear that before? Did you hear that before? Like, listen, sometimes God speaks in whispers and you have to be quiet to hear him. Is that directly from you, or is that?
No, he's a
is he
PK.
channeling you? Anyway, I gotta pick at him because I'm making a joke out of it, but he really does have a little of that in him, and appreciate that you have a lot of it in you, and thank you for what you do for our city.
Thank you,
and the
Councilman.
positive vibes that you give everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Allen. Do any further councilors wish to be heard? Seeing none, before we hear from the Archbishop, allow me to say on behalf of the council and myself, and especially my wife, Mila, who's a big fan of yours as well, as you know. We've been honored to have you in our home on several occasions, but I think back to one of our first meetings, which was at the time that I had first sought a seat on the Springfield City Council. I was 19 years old, and you invited me to join a worship service at your church and to address your congregation. And I did not know on that Sunday morning that would be the largest crowd of people I had ever addressed in my short time as a candidate back then. So it sort of threw me into the water, so to speak. And I learned from it and I grew from it. But what I've recognized in the time that we've had an opportunity to build a relationship since then, certainly the sentiments of my colleagues ring true, all of them. But I also see you as somebody who is a convener and a connector of individuals who need to be convened and connected, whether it's sitting with families who have seen unspeakable violence in our community, who need the individuals who lead our community to hear them, or whether it's looking at economic development and how economic development truly can be grassroots and move our communities forward. In addition to everything that my colleagues have said tonight, I think that those issues must be highlighted when we talk about the work that you and your colleagues and congregation are doing in the city of Springfield. And so on behalf of the city of Springfield, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we honor you. And at this time, we turn the floor to you, Archbishop Paul.
Thank you, Counselor Edwards. He really is a brother. His mother was dear to me. Thank you so much. And to all of you, let me just say that I was stunned, and I'm so sorry, Catering, that I didn't know, because I really admired your husband, Dan. And it's a great loss for the city of Springfield. So you have my deepest condolences. Thank you, Counselor Hurst, and my buddy, First Timothy. I'm Second Timothy. He's older, and I see Counselor Fenton and Counselor Curran, and my good friend whom I love dearly, Counselor Letterman, and Counselor Davila. Thank you so much. My lovely wife, Sandra's here to join me tonight. Thank you for being a part of my life, and some of my congregation are here today. I thank you so much for enjoying this time with me and listening to me sing on Sunday morning. And I have the honor of having two good friends, both who are members of the clergy, Bishop Leonard Naylor and Bishop Michael Jones, who served with me together on the New Hope CDC, helping other people exceed community development. Bishop just celebrated his 70th year birthday party on Saturday, so thank you for being here. And just want to shout out to Tony Signoli. Everybody knows Tony's a great guy, and just grateful. Let me just say I'm honored to serve the city of Springfield for 40 years, and I came running back from Providence. It was a different kind of politics in Providence, Rhode Island, if you don't know. But more importantly, I'm grateful and humbled, and will continue to serve God and serve you. I have no political interests. My interest is to see that we have a peaceful city and a good city in a city that has harmony amongst all races, colors, creed. That's important, especially in an age like this, nonpartisan, strictly just loving one another. So thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you, Archbishop, and we'll invite you behind the bar if you'd like to take a photo with the City Council as well. And your wife as well, of course. Congratulations again to the Archbishop. We have a final proclamation this evening, and we thank our final honoree for their patience and all of our guests. Just prior to presenting that final and very special proclamation, we do have a posted meeting, and so I am bound to call that meeting briefly to order, and then we will recess and take up our final proclamation. So with that, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Perez.
Present.
Present. Councilor Click Bruce. Absent. Councilor Curran.
Present.
Present. Councilor Walsh.
Present.
Present. Councilor Brown.
Present.
Present. Councilor Davila.
Present.
Present. Councilor Hurst.
Present.
Present. Councilor Edwards.
Present.
Present. Councilor Allen.
Present.
Present. Councilor Govan.
Present.
Present. Councilor Fenton.
Present.
Present. Councilor Whitfield. Absent. Councilor Letterman.
Present. Having a quorum present, I'll now declare that the council shall stand in recess. And at this time, we will present our final proclamation for the evening. Our final proclamation this evening is presented to an individual who is no stranger to anybody here in the Springfield City Hall or in the City Council chamber. It is our friend, our neighbor, and a great public servant to this community, G. Michael Dobbs. And I was honored to be able to invite Mr. Dobbs to the chamber this evening on the occasion of his formal retirement as the executive editor of Reminder Publications. And before I present his proclamation to him and we hear remarks from all of our council colleagues, I will say that, Mike Dobbs is a quintessential local reporter. He dedicated his entire career, when he could have gone anywhere, to making sure that the city of Springfield, the greater Springfield region, had access to what was going on in their local government, in their economy, and most importantly, at their movie theater, through his great and well-known movie reviews. But I think that we also know that Mike Dobbs is an individual who wrote in such a way that what was happening in the city of Springfield was connected in a more global context, and also in such a way that it was accessible to anybody who picked up a copy of the Reminder. I'm very grateful to him for having published letters to the editor that I wrote as a young man before having the opportunity to serve here in the city of Springfield in the City Council chamber, but also for all of the work that he did outside of Reminder Publications, which we'll talk a little bit about in the proclamation, because you'll hear he had many varied interests, the least of which was his promotion of incredible local establishments like one of all of our favorites, Smokey Joe's. And so, with that, it's an honor to present this proclamation to G. Michael Dobbs, and it reads as follows. Whereas G. Michael Dobbs has led a distinguished career in the field of mass communications, having dedicated himself professionally to the worthy field of local journalism. And whereas Mr. Dobbs has served most notably as the executive editor of Reminder Publications, and whereas in addition to his position as executive editor, Mr. Dobbs has held defining roles as a reporter, a freelance writer, a radio talk show host with WREB, a college instructor, a national animation publication editor, and as the host of the Focus Springfield series, Government Matters. And whereas Mr. Dobbs is a graduate of the University of Massachusetts Amherst and the author of 5 books, including A Postcard History of Springfield, 15 Minutes with 40 Years of Interviews, and Escape, How Animation Broke into the Mainstream in the 1990s. And whereas Mr. Dobbs and his wife, Mary Cassidy, are proud residents of the city of Springfield, and he is a well-known, fierce advocate for the Springfield community, both through his publications and as a private citizen, having been civically engaged and having advocated for and organized major events, including the annual Bing Comic Con. And whereas in 2022, Mr. Dobbs announced his retirement from his role as executive editor of Reminder Publications after 22 years with the paper, though true to form, continues to serve the community as a contributing reporter. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the City Council of Springfield, Massachusetts hereby honors, recognizes, congratulates, and thanks G. Michael Dobbs for his lifetime of service to the people of the city of Springfield as a journalist, resident, and through his leadership of the Reminder publication, and wishes him the best in all his future endeavors. A proclamation sponsored on December 12, 2022, in honor of G. Michael Dobbs, entered into the records of the city of Springfield by Gladys Loyola Lopez, the city clerk, and sponsored by City Council President Jesse Letterman and all councilors. Mr. Dobbs, on behalf of the city of Springfield, congratulations and thank you. At this time, do any other councilors wish to be heard? Councilor Fenton?
Thank you, Mr. President. Tonight is a pretty impressive cast of individuals that we're honoring here with proclamations tonight. And Michael Dobbs is at the top of my list in terms of accomplished and dignified reporting in my years on the city council. Mike, you've always been a thorough reporter. There's other reporters who I put in that same category, some of whom are here tonight with you, but it's a very short list of people who do a thorough job, who care, who you can always expect to be objective and not just regurgitate or republish a press release. Being an effective journalist requires effort and commitment to the profession, and you have exemplified that at every single turn in your career. You're someone who I came to rely on and trust in the profession, and someone who could be trusted not just by the politicians, but by the voters. Mike has moderated more debates and forums for elected office than I can count or measure, and being selected to play that role requires having the trust of the voters, the trust of the candidates, and the trust of the people who are involved in campaigns. And having that type of credibility isn't given, it's earned over a career in journalism. And Mike Dobbs earned not only that respect, but this proclamation 10 times over tonight. So Mike, thank you for your contributions to our community, for the growth that you saw and oversaw through the Reminder Publications and a small local news organization, something that the rest of this country is watching go in the opposite direction. But we saw the Reminder flourish under your leadership. And it's because people could trust the news that he put out, and he always emulated those pillars of honesty and thoroughness. So thank you, and look forward to many more years of the same. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Councilor Fenton. We'll go to Councilor Govan, followed by Councilor Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. President, and congratulations, Mike, for this proclamation, which is, as Councilor Fenton said, very well deserved and appropriate. I've been a reader of the Reminder and the publication, and I've also noticed all the other work that you've been doing in the community. So I just want to thank you for your service to the city. This is a great night for the city of Springfield. We're proclaiming that we have some very great people that have been in our city and that continue to be here. And I just look forward to seeing what else you're going to do now that you're retiring. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Govan. Councilor Edwards.
Mike Dobbs, it's a pleasure to know you, and it's been a pleasure to enjoy your writing over the years. You've always been very straightforward in sharing your opinion and your thoughts with me. Very nonsensical kind of commentary, and the city has been served well by your writing. I look forward to the next chapter of whatever you choose to do. I look forward to the opportunity to break bread again with you and your wife next door at our neighbor's house. For those who don't know, he is a resident of the Maple High Six Corner neighborhood, and I have had the honor of breaking bread with him on occasion and listening to his wit personally and not just on the pages. So to you, Mike, thank you for your years of service, and to your wonderful wife, thank you for supporting our friend, and we look forward to your continued success. Thank you.
Thank you, Melvin.
Thank you, Councilor Edwards. Councilor Walsh, followed by Councilor Davila.
Thank you, President Letterman. I agree with Councilor Allen that this proclamation night really highlights wonderful individuals in our community, and I'd like to thank you as a reporter. Can I look at him when I'm speaking, or do I have to, I don't like to have my back to you. Because you know what, following up with Councilor Fenton said, you were always fair. And I think that is the true measure of a reporter, to be able to be fair to all the people that you have interviewed over time, so many issues. You always were fair and gave the right side of the story. Your credit to your community, to your family. You are also a credit to the radio community. Our great friend Michael Harrison has so much esteem for you. But I wanted to get up and recognize you not only for your professional life, but Mike Dobbs is also a great friend of Danny's. And I'm watching you in the audience, and I'm thinking about, is it Smokey Joe's, or thinking of the wonderful times that Danny had with you and the great friendship that you and he had. And I'm glad that you are both being honored in the chamber tonight. Enjoy your retirement. Thank you.
Thank you, Catering.
Thank you, Councilor Walsh. Councilor Davila.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mike, to keep it short, sir, you truly a scholar and a gentleman. As I was, there were proclamations that was being read, I looked around at my colleagues, and I thought to myself, Jesus, my God needs a rite of passage to the city council. Because most of us, if not all of us, have been interviewed by you. We have sat in your debates. And one thing that I can tell you, like I was echoing a while ago, is that I always felt that you were straightforward, you were professional, you didn't ask gotcha questions. And for that, I think, as a candidate and as a city council. I also thank you as a resident, because I truly believe that people have the right, the human right, to have news, to have own bias. People have the right to know the truth. And you always do that. And for that, I think, may you enjoy your retirement, may you enjoy good cigars, and may you enjoy your time, and you deserve all the rest. I'm sure you will stay out somehow. But again, thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you, Victor.
Do any further councilors wish to be heard? Councilor Allen?
Thanks, Mr. President. I'm going to reiterate some of what Councilor Fenton said about the as I decided when I was sitting here that I would Google you, and I got a bunch of your articles, and the second one is listed as kind of what Councilor Fenton said, and I would like to echo that. A healthy local press may also mean a healthy local political process. And you were the author of that, and I think you were the person who also followed that. It is true what happens in this room isn't always pretty and isn't always easy, but you always gave it a fair shake, and whatever you wrote about, and not just what happens in here, but in any part of the political process, you had a kind of a good kind of involved in it, but a little bit separate from it kind of approach to it, where you had some perspective on it, but you saw it firsthand. I always respected that about you, and I think a healthy local press really does make for a healthy political process. So I appreciate that, what you've done to further that. And also, I don't know if you're still going to be writing your little editor's desk thing, but I always enjoyed that. When I got the reminder, it was the first thing I went to see what what wisdom we could get from Mike that week. So thank you for the humor, and thank you for the political process, the fairness you had to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Councilor Kern.
Good reporters matter, and good reporting matters. And you made the reminder matter here in the city of Springfield, Mr. Dobbs. And I can tell you thousands of Springfield residents look forward to your weekly opinion columns. And you really did make the newspaper a powerhouse and a strong voice in the civic life of Springfield. And we certainly appreciate your commitment to the city, the region, and Western Massachusetts.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councilor Kern. Councilor Hurst.
I'll just say residency makes a difference. Couldn't hit us too hard, because you have to see us at the local bodega. And so, no, but like my colleagues have said, I appreciate the substance that came with your writing. Like Councilor Fenton said, it's easy to just put out a press release and repeat what someone has said in a press release. What is difficult is to actually do the research and to take the extra step to find out what is right and what is not right. And everything that you printed was always right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councilor Hurst. And before we turn the floor over to Mr. Dobbs, I will say in finality that, as our colleague Councilor Kern said, local media does matter. And when we look at studies across the United States where local media markets are shrinking, governments that exist in local media markets that have closed are measurably less accountable to their electorates. And one thing that I especially admire, Mr. Dobbs, about you as you departed the reminder is the young reporters that you left in your stead, who we know are going to carry on the legacy and example that you have set. And so with that, sir, we now turn the floor to yourself.
Thank you so much. A very unexpected honor. I did not expect that. Even when you gave Peter Goonan a certificate, I said, okay, well, they're not going to give me a certificate, but that's okay. Springfield's my home. And I feel very strongly about its history. I feel very strongly about its potential. I've had people come into this city as guests, and they are impressed by it. Sometimes I think residents of Springfield forget about all the good things that are here. It's been my pleasure to report on Springfield for many years. You know, it's just a joy. Just to answer some questions. I'm still writing. My opinion column is every other week. I'm going to be a freelancer starting January 1st, and I intend to do as much as I possibly can and continue to do as much as I possibly can to highlight this city. I'm very pleased tonight that my colleague Paul Tuthill is here, another incredible reporter who covers Springfield on a regular basis. My family moved here in 1957. My dad was stationed at Westover Air Force Base. I have no memories of the community in which I was born. My earliest memories is standing in the living room at 104 Navajo Road in the 16 acres neighborhood. And no matter where my dad was stationed, I told people I was from Springfield, Massachusetts. And even when they settled after my dad retired in Granby, I persisted to tell people, You're not from Granby? No, I'm not from Granby. I'm from Springfield, Massachusetts. So this city was imprinted on me at a very early age. So I thank you all for these very kind words. I look forward to moderating a mayoral debate next year. Wink, wink. I really do. It's going to be a great race, I'm sure. And I appreciate the ability of continuing doing something for the city of Springfield. So I'm going to take this opportunity to announce my candidacy for city council. It is a joke, folks. The horrified looks on a couple of your faces. I mean, it was just like, oh my God, the backbone of this guy to actually come here and say that. No, I'm not going to run because my wife would fillet me. She does not want me running for city council. But you guys are doing a pretty goddamn good job, so keep it up. We appreciate the checks and balances that are in the city and the dedication that so many of you have shown to this city. It's a very important job, and I do appreciate what all of you are doing, and I thank you very much for this honor.
Mr. Dobbs, we would invite you behind the bar with Mary if she would like to receive your proclamation and take a photo with the City Council. Good, we're good. We're all set. The council will now reconvene for the purpose of our hearings meeting, and I would invite at this time members and guests to rise and join me in a moment of silence. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, please call the first item.
First item is a petition for Eversource, Cass Street and Franklin Street.
Is there anyone here to speak to this item? Say again, is there anybody here to speak to item 1, an Eversource petition? Seeing no one, is there a motion to continue?
Motion to continue.
Is there a second? Second. Any discussion on the motion to continue? Seeing none, without objection, Madam Clerk, please call the roll on Councilor Edwards' motion to continue item 1.
On continuing the item, Councilor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Click Bruce. Absent, Councilor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Brown. Councilor Brown. Away, Councilor Davila.
Madam Clerk, please register Councilor Brown's vote.
Councilor Brown.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Davila. Away. Councilor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Whitfield. Absent, Councilor Letterman.
Yes, the votes are sufficient. Item 1 will be continued. Madam Clerk, please call item 2.
Item 2 is for a special permit to operate an indoor place of amusement on a portion of the property known as 1377 Liberty Street.
This special permit was continued from our last hearings meeting. The hearing was opened and it was continued with the hearing open. At this time, we'll recognize the proponents for a period of 20 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record, and you may present any further evidence in support of your special permit.
Hi, my name is John Zhang. You can also call me Ethan. My home address is 738 Bark Street, Swansea, Massachusetts. So I've come back here to ask if you guys would give me a special permit to operate an indoor trampoline and entertainment park over there at the location stated below. I have since the last continuation, I have spoken to the bounce owner, and we have not come into any agreement with what he has suggested. That's sort of where we're at.
Thank you, sir. Do you wish to present anything further?
No.
Thank you. You can have a seat. Are there any other individuals here to speak in support of the special permit? Seeing none, is there anybody here virtually to speak in support of this special permit? Seeing none at this time, we would ask if there are any opponents present who wish to be heard, either in person or virtually. Seeing none at this time, are there any questions from the City Council prior to our closing the public hearing? Councilor Fenton.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you. We're supposed to sit now, right? Thank you, Ethan, for following up and stepping forward with your family and investment group for the Springfield Plaza. Unfortunately, one of the results of competition in this space is that it will potentially negatively affect existing business owners. We do not have the authority as a council to decide based on competitive factors, but they exist, and that's what we heard at this last meeting from someone who's been a very reputable business owner and operator at the Springfield Plaza for the course of the last close to decade. With that said, Ethan and his group have presented a very good plan, and one that the neighborhood and myself are prepared to support. So we have a letter from the Hungry Hill Citizens Council, which should have been circulated to the clerk. The reason I'm speaking now and not after the close of the hearing is that there are a few requested conditions, and I want to make sure that the petitioner has had a chance to review them, and if not, consider them now before we take action on the permit. So the first condition is that the sale or presence of alcohol shall not be allowed on the site. The second condition is that no loitering signs shall be posted and enforced. The third condition is that there'll be no accessory parking for trailers or recreational vehicles on the premises. It sounds like a silly condition, but we've had issues with that in the past at this plaza. The fourth condition is that the special permit and its conditions be posted on the premises. The fifth condition is a time for closure, and this time on closure is intended to match the requirement on the other business owner in the park, which I understand to be 10:30 p.m. So I'm specifically trying to make sure that that's okay with the petitioners. 10:30 p.m. acceptable to you as a close time?
10:30 is acceptable.
Okay. And the sixth condition that's being proposed is that the petitioner participate in monthly meetings with the neighborhood council, specifically related to other issues in the plaza, and those can be telephonic or otherwise. We've done that in the past with prior operations of the plaza and done so pretty successfully, keeping those meetings short. So are there any objections from the petitioner to those conditions?
No, sir.
Okay. So then I'm prepared to support this application here tonight, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Fenton. Are there any further questions for the petitioner prior to the close of the public hearing? Seeing none, without objection, I'll declare that the public hearing is now closed. Is there any deliberation or amendments from the council? Councilor Fenton.
Thank you, Mr. President. Madam Clerk, would you like me to go through those again? In
The
the
only
form?
one I'd like you to repeat is item 4,
Okay.
the fourth condition.
So the first was regarding no sale of alcohol. Second is the no loitering signs. Third is no accessory parking for trailers or recreational vehicles. Number 4 is that the special permit and its conditions be posted on the premises. Fifth is close time of 10 p.m. And sixth is monthly meetings with the neighborhood council.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Fenton. We'll go to Councilor Edwards.
I believe originally you said 10:30. Just now you just said 10 p.m.
Oh, I meant to say 10:30. Did I just say?
10:30 is what I have.
Okay, 10:30 is what I meant. Thank you, Councilor Edwards.
Thank you.
Councilor Davila.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to clarify, if I may, Councilor Fenton, you adding those conditions to the existing conditions?
Correct. That is a motion to add those conditions to the
okay.
existing
Sounds
conditions.
good. Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you, Councilor Fenton. Is there a second to Councilor Fenton's motion?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Davila. Is there any discussion on Councilor Fenton's motion? Seeing none, without objection, Madam Clerk, please call the roll to adopt Councilor Fenton's motion for additional conditions.
On adopting the motion for the 6 additional conditions, Councilor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Click Bruce. Absent, Councilor Curran. Yes, Councilor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Whitfield. Absent, Councilor Letterman.
Yes, the votes are sufficient. The conditions are amended. Is there any further deliberation amongst the council? Seeing none, without objection, Madam Clerk, please call the roll on approval of the special permit.
On approving the special permit, Councilor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Click Bruce. Absent, Councilor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Whitfield. Absent, Councilor Letterman.
Yes, the votes are sufficient. The permit is approved. Councilor Perez with the reasons.
On the reasons, number 1, the specific site is an appropriate location for such a use, structure, or condition. Number 2, the use as developed would not adversely affect the neighborhood. Number 3, adequate and appropriate facilities will be provided for the proper operation of the proposed use. Number 4, to incorporate the planning staff analysis into the decision at the basis of the findings.
Thank you, Councilor Perez. Are there any discussion?
Thank you.
Is there any discussion on the reasons? Seeing none, without objection, Madam Clerk, please call the roll to approve the reasons.
On approving the reasons, Councilor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Click Bruce. Absent, Councilor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Whitfield. Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Whitfield. Absent, Councilor Letterman.
Yes, the votes are sufficient. The reasons are approved. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
The next item is for a special permit for a new residential development, 24 units at the properties known as 291 Oakland Street, 283 Oakland Street, and East Side Oakland Street.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. This is a public hearing that will be held in accordance with the rules of the City Council. We will have time for both proponents and opponents to present their case. Both will receive 20 minutes with rebuttal limited to 10 minutes. At this time, we will declare that the public hearing is open, and we will recognize the petitioner as the first proponent. We'd ask that you state your name and address for the record.
All right. Hello. Good evening. My name is Philippe Cravo of Our Levesque Associates. 40 School Street, Westfield, Massachusetts. Here tonight with Mr. Mike Lemlin and Peter LaPlante, Peter Plant of Spring Park Properties, the applicants for the special permit to improve the site or the sites at 283, 291, and 299 Oakland Street. Currently, the property is zoned Residence C, is about 31,000 and a half square feet in size. That's inclusive of all three parcels, and was formerly the site of a single-family residential home on the southerlymost parcel. And there's currently still a garage with various asphalt and gravel improvements on the other two parcels. What is being proposed are three new multifamily buildings, 8 units each, 4 units per floor, and each unit is a 1-bedroom unit. So a total of 24 units between the 3 new buildings. Also being proposed is a garage along the perimeter to the east and to the south. Those are garages for the tenants. The garage along the easterly property line has 17 garage spaces. The unit to the south has 7 garage spaces. And in the corner, there is a maintenance facility garage for the owner to keep his maintenance equipment. Additionally to the garage units, there are 14 surface spaces directly adjacent to the buildings towards the rear of the parcel. And the site has been designed such that there's a one-way circulation through the site. Vehicles will enter on the southerly entrance and circulate around the site and exit on the northerly entrance. In addition to the buildings and the garages, there is a perimeter fence. What was previously shown as a 4-foot vinyl fence has been increased based on some comments received from the planning department to a 6-foot vinyl fence. And then along the frontage of the property, right now there's like a wrought iron fence, like an old style wrought iron fence. Based on some discussions that the applicant had with the Civic Association, that fence will be reutilized and included along the frontage of this property. So it'll be sort of refurbished and used along the frontage. So it'll have a nice appearance to the street side. From a review standpoint, we have received a letter from the planning department from Mr. Dromey with a recommendation of approval with conditions. We have reviewed the conditions and don't find any of the conditions to be outlandish. They're all acceptable. We are currently in the review process with the DPW. We have already spoken to them, and there are minor sort of modifications to the plan, but mostly utility related, nothing that will change the layout of the site as we have it shown. In addition to that, the applicant has been to the neighborhood Forest Park Civic Association and received a letter of support from them. So from that standpoint, that process has been gone through, and at this point, turn it back to the council to answer questions.
Thank you, sir. We'd ask that you step aside. Are there any other individuals who wish to be heard in favor of the petition? Is there anybody present virtually to be heard in favor of the petition? Seeing none, is there any individual present to be heard in opposition, either virtually or in person? Seeing none, are there any questions from the City Council prior to the close of the public hearing? Councilor Allen?
Thanks, Mr. President. You just mentioned in your presentation that all the conditions are fine. There was some writing there about landscaping, about removing curb cuts that are already there, et cetera. I'm just double checking it.
Yes.
All that stuff is acceptable, and the landscaping plan and all that.
Correct. I believe Mike has gone through and has some updates to the landscape plan based on some discussions. And yes, the curb cuts that are existing that aren't going to be utilized will be closed. brought up to city standards and repaired accordingly. Yep.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Allen. Counselor Kern?
I guess my question to the petitioner is, so this would be 24 studio apartments or one-bedroom apartments? How large would these units be?
Mike, you want to answer that?
They're going to be 24 one-bedroom units.
Sir, could you please step forward to the podium and state your name and address for the record?
Mike Lemlin, Spring Park Properties, 24 one-bedroom units,
And about how large are these units going to be?
380 square feet.
An apartment. Was there any thought at all, perhaps maybe to lessen the density, to make 8 apartments and make them 3 bedrooms, or maybe 2-bedroom apartments to make them a little bit more, perhaps family-friendly or accessible?
Okay, the call for one-bedroom apartments is in abundance right now. We have over 100 applicants for this specific project.
Yep. And I understand that, but was there any call, I mean, whether from the Civic Association or our housing director or our economic development director, to make it more than studio apartments?
No, no one mentioned that at all, no.
And did this petition receive the approval of the Civic Association over in Forest Park?
Yes, we did.
It did. No further questions.
Thank you, Counselor Kern. Counselor Govan, followed by Counselor Perez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I guess my question, and I don't know if I missed it or not, will these be market rate apartments or affordable housing?
A fair market value,
Fair market value?
yes.
So what is a fair market value for a one-bedroom apartment today?
A one-bedroom apartment is $950.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Govan. Counselor Perez.
Yes, I was gonna ask the same question, about the, affordable housing. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
And it was
Counselor.
asked.
Thank you, Counselor Perez. Are there any further questions from the City Council prior to the close of the public hearing? Seeing none, I know Mr. Jerome wishes to be heard.
Yeah, I just had a comment as I heard that they were going to reutilize the fencing along Oakland Street, which I don't have an issue with. I just didn't notice that in the plans that they submitted. So I had a specific condition in there that there shall be no fencing along Oakland Street. So if they're going to reutilize the existing fencing it just needs to be amended from the special permit.
You say that's okay with you?
Yeah, I don't have an issue. I mean, I'm assuming they're going to fix it and make it prettier. It's in rough shape now, but if it is an older fence that's been there for a number of years, so if it can be reutilized, I don't have an issue with it staying.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jerome. Are there any other questions from the members of the council prior to the close of the public hearing? Counselor Kern?
One further question. What was there before, sir, on the lots?
I'm sorry?
What was on the lots before the proposal?
Back in the 70s, there was a single family on the left-hand side. The center, there was a single family also, and on the right-hand side. So there was 3 single-family homes and a brick garage in the back.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Kern. Are there any further questions for the petitioner, Counselor Fenton?
What's the plan for stormwater?
For stormwater?
Yeah.
I can help with that. So the stormwater, currently the site just sheet flows from the rear towards Oakland Street. There's a few localized low points that kind of keep it on site, but most of the water that's from the impervious areas, the asphalt areas, go from towards Oakland Street. We are going to be installing 2 new catch basins within the parking aisles towards the rear, and there will be a new subsurface infiltration system that ties into the roadway into Oakland Street.
And in Oakland Street, the stormwater drains, where does that go? Are there
So in Oakland Street, it's still a combined system at this location, which means that the sanitary and storm are both connected to the same system. So ultimately, that ends up at the wastewater treatment plant. But as part of our stormwater design and through the process of getting permitted through Springfield Water and Sewer, is that we have to reduce as much as possible the discharge of stormwater coming off site. So at this location, we've dug test pits across the site. Down about 30 to 40 inches, you have a really nice, well-drained sandy material. So that sandy material is really good for infiltration. So we've designed a subsurface system to infiltrate as much as possible, but as a requirement through DPW, we do have to make a connection to the roadway as an outfall, sort of an emergency outfall. But we don't anticipate much water coming off the site at all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Fenton. Are there any further questions from members of the council? Councilor Curran.
Not a question, but just maybe a comment to my colleagues.
Councilor Curran, you might wish to save that for the deliberation.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions while the hearing remains open? Seeing none, without objection, I'll now declare that the public hearing will remain open, and we will recognize Councilor Fenton.
Thank you. I just have one more question. So the plans, are these three separate structures?
The apartment buildings are three separate structures, yes.
And this is one parcel?
Currently, it's three parcels, but through the A&R process, and they're under common ownership, so we can combine them into a single parcel.
So you have or you will combine them into one parcel?
Correct. We will combine them. It's kind of if they're under common ownership, you can do that.
What's the zoning district?
Residence C.
Oh, it's already Residence C.
Correct.
I see. Okay.
Thank you, Councilor Fenton. Are there any further questions for the petitioner while the hearing remains open? Seeing none, without objection, we'll now declare that the public hearing is closed. Council will enter into deliberation. Does any councilor wish to be heard? Councilor Davila.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have to say that Mr. Lemon has kept the Forest Park Civic Association and myself aware of this project. He has been truly a pleasure to work with in ensuring that we have good quality housing and something that makes sense for the neighborhood. Just to perhaps answer some of the questions my colleague had, some of the questions they had. Initially, the plan was to have more units, but due to the concern of the density itself, he compromised and we agreed to have 24 units. And that was a good in the middle number for all of us, and something that also makes sense for him economically as well and financially. So we're happy with the project. He did appear, I believe back in September, I believe it was, if that's correct, September, in front of the Forest Park Civic Association. As always, they vetted him very well, very carefully, and they did submit a letter of support, which should be within your files. That area, Oakland Street, it will be a welcome site. The area there could be a little tricky, and I'm personally very excited to see this project come up in Oakland Street. And so the Forest Park Civic Association does fully support this. I myself support this, and I encourage my colleagues to vote in favor of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Davila. Are there any further questions, comments, or deliberation? Amendments? Councilor Curran.
Just to say, it is great to see developers investing in the city of Springfield and to see new developers investing in the city of Springfield. And I haven't seen these particular petitioners here before the council or in my time, so thank you for your commitment to the city. Obviously, the city is facing a rental crisis. Rents in the last 5-6 years have doubled here in the city, but in part is because the city has really had an aggressive policy of courting Boston developers who have come into the city and taking a lot of these buildings and have rehabbed them, have done a great job of rehabbing these units, but at the same time have brought to Springfield Boston rents. And in part, that has been a part of the rental crisis here in the city. And it's good to see developers looking to put some new units on the market and perhaps alleviate some of that rental crisis. That said, the 24 units here for this particular parcel, the petitioner just said they had 3 single-family houses. To have 24 units, basically studio apartments, 390 square feet, in my opinion, that's a lot of density in that area. And it would be, at least from my standpoint, a stronger proposal if it was less units and perhaps higher quality units than simply 390 square foot apartments. We do have families who are looking for rental units, and they need 2-bedroom apartments, they need 3-bedroom apartments. And it would be great to see developers concentrate on that aspect of the market. Again, I appreciate the investment. I just do think that this many units on one parcel is just a level of density that I don't think is particularly strong housing policy. I'd be curious to know what our housing director's feelings are on this, as this is a significant development in the Forest Park neighborhood. I'm not sure I've received anything from Ms. McCaffrey or our economic development director, Mr. Sheehan, but this is a significant development. However, I'm just not comfortable with the level of density, and that's my own opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Curran. Councilor Govan.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I guess I want to commend the developers also for bringing more housing to the city. And to me, that sounds, the $950 for a 1-bedroom apartment sounds reasonable, although what Councilor Curran said about the size of it, I guess it might be small, but nonetheless, that rent sounds reasonable, because right now I have people who are paying almost $1,500 for a 1-bedroom apartment right in downtown Springfield, you know, which is not reasonable at all. So I commend the developers, and if Councilor Davila and his civic association are in favor of it, I think I guess I'm gonna also support it. Thank you.
Councilor Perez.
Yes, I agree with my colleague, Councilor Govan. There's a need for this type of bedrooms, 1-bedroom. I commend them also as well, and I commend them because always going to be a new development. They keeping it at $950. I know that right now the studios are going $1,000 and up. And I agree also with my councilor colleague, Chan Curran, because yes, I see that the developers that are coming down the city of Springfield, they are coming with the rent of New York City, Boston. And like I said at the last meeting, this is a serious situation that we have in the city of Springfield. So I do commend the developers being sensitive to the need that we have right now. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilor Perez. Are there any further deliberations amongst the council? Seeing none, just procedurally, I'd remind the council about item 16, which was brought up by Mr. Dromey. I would just remind the council that Mr. Dromey stated if you want to have a fence along Oakland Street, one might need to amend this to strike item 6, condition 16, or else no fence would be allowable.
Motion to strike item 6.
Second.
Councilor Edwards has made a motion to strike condition 16 that states there shall be no fencing along Oakland Street. It was seconded by Councilor Hurst. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, without objection, Madam Clerk, please call the roll on the motion to strike condition 16.
On the motion to strike condition 16, Councilor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Click Bruce, absent. Councilor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield, absent Counselor Letterman.
Yes, the votes are sufficient. Condition 16 is struck. Is there any further debate or deliberation amongst the council prior to a vote? Councilor Hurst?
Just for the record, I am an abutter to this particular property, but feel as though I can be an objective vote on this particular issue. Just want to be transparent.
Thank you, Councilor Hurst. Is there any further deliberation amongst the city council? Seeing none, without objection, Madam Clerk, please call the roll on approval of the special permit.
On approval of the special permit, Counselor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Click Bruce, absent Counselor Curran.
No.
No, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield, absent Counselor Letterman.
Yes, the votes are sufficient. The special permit is approved. Councilor Perez with the reasons.
On the reasons, number one, the specific site is an appropriate location for such a use, structure, or condition. Number two, the use as developed will not adversely affect the neighborhood. Number three, adequate and appropriate facilities will be provided for the proper operation of the proposed use. Number four, to incorporate the planning staff analysis into the decision at the basis of the findings.
Thank you, Councilor Perez. Is there any discussion on the reasons? Seeing none, without objection, Madam Clerk, please call the roll to approve the reasons.
On approving the reasons, Counselor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Click Bruce, absent Counselor Curran.
No.
No, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield, absent Counselor Letterman.
Yes, the votes are sufficient. The reasons are approved. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
The next item is for a special permit for an accessory wall sign at the properties known as East Side Martone Place.
I believe we actually received, just prior to the meeting, a request to continue this. I just want to confirm that the petitioner is not present. I don't believe that they are. And seeing that they are not, with the word from Mr. Dromey, is there such a motion to continue this item?
Motion to continue.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made to continue this by Councilor Edwards, seconded by Councilor Govan. Is there any discussion on the motion to continue? Seeing no discussion, without objection, Madam Clerk, please call the roll on the motion to continue.
On the motion to continue, Counselor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Click Bruce, absent Counselor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield, absent Counselor Letterman.
Yes, the votes are sufficient. The item will be continued. Madam Clerk, is there any further business properly brought before this council?
There is not.
Then at this time, we'll stand adjourned until next Monday. Thank you.